1, 2, 3, 4. FWA, 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 FWA. FWA, 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 FWA.
Hello and welcome to Nothing and Like It, thankfully the only podcast to chronicle the FWA via its appearances on television, and for the second episode in a row we're not even doing that. I am Code Red Kieran Lefort, and at the end of the last episode I promised you the truth behind the FWA. Lo, I have delivered, but it will require the help of a few good men. First, he wants the truth, but also some money out of KLM. It's Eddie Sideburns. Eddie, how you doing?
Doing not bad. And by the way, I just want to say, KLM, despite what I said earlier, I'm not bad with you anymore. There's not going to be any telling of fucking off. Are
they a fine bunch of lads now?
£98 and 51 pence of reasons why I'm not angry at KLM anymore. But yeah, I'm here to get the truth. This is a great Few Good Men episode we've got here. Can't wait.
Absolutely. And he can't handle the truth, but I have seen him handle about 10 pints. It's Andy Ogden. Andy, how are you?
I'm not too bad. Unfortunately, unlike Eddie, I got no money out of my flight delays, but I did get a podcast career out of it. So
swings and roundabouts.
It does.
All of this waffling and silly movie referencing is to introduce our guest. Someone who had become very important to the FWA and, in fact, British wrestling as a whole, on both sides of the curtain. Manager, ring announcer, commentator, promoter, booker, author, magazine journalist, podcaster, and probably 100 other jobs I'm missing. Greg the Truth Lambert. Greg, how are you doing?
Doing very well, Kieran. A long time no speak. It's been.
Yeah.
We were trying to work it out, but it probably the best part of 20 years, I would imagine.
It's at minimum 12 to 13 years, possibly even longer, yes.
Do we think it's the days of RQW at the York Hall, do we think?
Yes, the John Ryan Open Challenge.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, very no, I have fond memories of those days. It was, the crowds were small, but the great Len Davis, God rest his soul, treated me really, really well. Lovely guy.
The crowds were small, but the passions were high and the payoffs were slightly larger than elsewhere.
This is true. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to hit you with our standard opening question because it's the easiest way to talk about professional wrestling. How did you become a wrestling fan in the first place?
I don't really remember, if I'm being honest, perfectly honest. It's a long time ago. It was British wrestling on ITV. It was watching that era in the mid-80s, really. And it was watching it with someone who'd become pretty synonymous with my sort of story in wrestling, certainly in my early years, which was my best mate, Mark Kay from Morecambe.
I remember him.
And we just always used to watch it round his house, Big Daddy, Giant Haystacks. It's the usual kind of story, really.
And then what was your first venture into the business? Was it WrestlingX.com?
It was. This is weird. I think I've been thinking about this sort of before coming on the podcast and trying to get my head around everything that happened in what was a really bizarre 12-month period. It's sort of late 2001 to late 2002. There was just so many amazing things happened in a short space of time. And it probably explains a lot about what happened later on when things started to go a little bit tits up with the FWA and the whole management side of things, because everything went so spectacularly right in my life over that 12 months that I probably started feeling a bit, anything's possible here. Bulletproof. So long story short, set up WrestlingX.com, which is a wrestling news website, late 2001 with Mark at the start of the internet, I guess, the start of the interest of wrestling fans going on the internet for their news. And did it actually for a short period of time, did a premium rate hotline as well, wrestling news, because We'd seen Finley Martin and Bill Apter do it, but I don't think we had the same level of success at all. I think 3 people rang it were probably doing well. And from there, I just quit my job. I was working as a call center manager, and I gave it up to go and study journalism, which is something I'd always wanted to do. Always wanted to be a writer from a very young age. Just never done it till about the age of 30. Just turning 30 at that time. And from there, because I was doing Wrestling X as like the side hustle, I suppose, wanted to try and build it up a bit, was listening to the Talk Wrestling radio show on a Saturday night on TalkSport, listening to Tommy Boyd, children's TV presenter I grew up watching, knew who he was, and Alex Shane, who I kind of knew from wrestling magazines, the FWA. I'd seen the FWA name in, I think it would have been WOW or POW magazine at the time.
I can never remember which order all those acronyms went in. Because it was WOW, it was POW, it was Total Wrestling, and eventually Fighting Spirit. They were they're all related in some way. They're all kind of linear. Yeah, I can never remember which way round it goes.
But yeah, that sort of genre of magazines, I suppose. I think Bill Apter had a hand in pretty much all of them.
The shorthand is it's the UK Apter mag, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it would be the anti-Power Slam, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah.
I always preferred Power Slam, but I did. I sort of kept my hand in and listened and read all of those as well. So I'd seen FWA was getting, and British Wrestling was getting a lot more coverage in those magazines at the time. There was like 3 or 4 page features on some FWA shows, and I'd seen pictures of Alex Shane and Johnny Storm and people like that. So I kind of knew who they were. So I heard Alex on the radio, and I thought him and Tommy Boyd were brilliant together. I genuinely did. I thought every week there was a row going on between them. You had to just tune in and see what was going on. And as salesmen, they were absolutely fantastic because they started talking about this show called Revival, Crystal Palace Arena, early 2002. Eddie Guerrero's going to be on it. Grandmaster Sexay is going to be on it. And the cream of the new crop of British wrestlers are going to be on it. It is going to be the revival of British wrestling. And if you don't go, you're missing out. And I just bought it hook, line and sinker. And I thought, right, I'm going to go to that show. I'm going to try and get a little bit of, maybe a couple of interviews, get a bit of, a bit of a profile for the wrestling website and see what happens. So I said I would cut a long story short, and that's not happening.
Okay, it's fine. Go as long as you want to.
Went to the show, interviewed Alex, met Alex for the first time, interviewed Tommy, did quite a big review on Wrestling X, which went down quite well. Met Dan Reed, now promoter of Pro Wrestling Eve, hit it off with Dan. We watched the show together. We spent pretty much the whole day together. We were talking about wrestling. We just hit it off really well. He was running a show that summer called Dawn of a New Era, which was like a bit of an FWA style show. It was Dan's first show as a promoter. He had Low Key booked for his first appearance. This is the year that 2002
Ipswich, right?
Yeah, it was in Ipswich.
Yeah.
2002 Loads is happening. It's a big year for wrestling. Our Ring of Honor is formed that year. TNA's formed that year. Low Key's kind of becoming a bit of a name. And he had all the other top Brits on the show. So he kind of put me in touch with a few of them to do a few interviews. And I ended up doing stuff on his community radio station to promote the show. So he actually got me involved in radio as well, which I'm doing now. So Dan's a big kind of part of my start, I guess. And then he gave me the first gig in wrestling, which was commentating on that show. Around the same time, I graduated from university as a reporter, immediately almost walked into a job in my local newspaper, which I'd always wanted. As a result of the qualification, applied for a job in Power Slam, got that, which I'd applied about 8 years early and Finley hadn't given me the time of day. So it was a qualification, definitely got me that job. And then because I got Power Slam and because they'd sort of taken notice of my stuff on Wrestling X, Alex Shane and Dino Scarlo were taking notice of me, and they sort of said, well, to Dan, I think it was, should we get Greg involved? He seems like he's knows what he's doing and that kind of thing. So then they got me on the Talk Wrestling show. So like within 6 months of listening to it, I'm suddenly on it, doing a roundup every week. Then they brought me into the studio a couple of times, and then they recruited me for the FWA. And this all happened in a 12-month period. And it's just bonkers to think about it and look back on it.
Wow. Yeah. Funnily enough, my next two questions just say Power Slam ? And TalkSport ? So those have been covered off. So to set the scene a bit more, you said that Dan's show was a bit more FWA smart fan centric. What sorts of other shows were you going to? Like, what was? I mean, other people have kind of explained it when they've come on, but just like, what was the British scene like at that time outside of the FWA?
Well, there wasn't a lot, certainly not in comparison to today.
Mm.
So in Morecambe, I'd have been going to see, probably for the previous 10 years. 10 years previously, it would have been Max Crabtree's shows.
Right.
And then I think different promoters over the years would come to Morecambe. So All Star came to Morecambe. We had a tribute show. I remember this really bad tribute show with a fake Kane and a fake Sergeant Slaughter fighting in a cage that probably wasn't much bigger than a matchbox. It was really poor. and then that year, Scott Conway and TWA were running Morecambe. So I think at the time, All Star, TWA, WAW, Premier Promotions, probably a little bit happening in Scotland.
But none of it's storyline driven, isn't it? It's just a wrestling show pitches up in your town, they do a show, they disappear, they come back in 6 months.
Yeah, and that's what made FWA stand out. It was storyline driven, it was a strong brand, it had an identity, it had a roster, and it did the style that UK indie fans at the time wanted to see.
It was, yes, that was another thing I think, is the in-ring style was modern. It wasn't guys trying not to hurt themselves by doing headlocks for 15 minutes. Like they were innovating. I mean, we've talked about, we bashed him a little bit, like Mark Sloan coming up with 15 finishes and keeping 10 of them for himself, but he did innovate in that way. The first person I saw after Mark Sloan to use the Tomorrow Driver, the brainbuster onto the knee, was Adam Cole. Like 15 years later. So it was a modern in-ring style.
Do we think that Adam Cole copied Mark Sloan?
Well, you see, my other one is Jack Xavier's rolling release X-Plex. When anybody else does it, it gets called the X-Plex. And before that, I'd only ever heard it called that because of Jack Xavier.
I mean, I can see Adam Cole watching tapes of Mark Sloan and his Purple Cobras and learning how to do that move. So, I mean, I think, if we could see it, it could be reasonable.
It's something Colt Cabana's shown him, isn't it? When he came over and he fell in love with British wrestling. So you said all this mad 12-month period, you end up debuting for the FWA. Can you kind of explain the angle that got you in? Because I'm not sure I did a good enough job when we initially talked about it.
Okay.
It came out of the radio show, didn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. It was more what was happening online. So it was more Wrestling X, really.
Oh, that's right. Yes, sorry. Yeah.
So one of the main things I used to do on Wrestling X is I started writing as the truth character. So the idea was always, I'm a journalist in real life. I'm going to amplify that. People don't like journalists in general. So it's a perfect, Andy's shaking his head straight away. So, yeah.
You should see the things they write about him in the local Rochdale papers.
Well, yeah.
Local man escorted home yet again.
Yeah, I've never written for the Rochdale papers, just to make that clear. So yeah, it was, I was writing a column on Wrestling X and I was starting to have a go at Alex in those columns. And
he's still a babyface at this point in the FWA.
He's a babyface in the FWA. He's got his own column on the FWA website called Shane's Shooting Gallery. And we started, I think, having a bit of a back and forth. There was a bit of tension on the radio show, but not really a huge amount. It was mainly on the internet.
Right.
And this is what really surprised me, actually, because you'd have thought that, particularly back then, that would probably be quite niche, and maybe it's probably quite a naive thing to do, to try and start the angle on the internet, because there's probably not enough people paying attention to it who might actually then go to the show and understand what's going on. But I still remember the night I debuted, and I'm so sad that never appeared anywhere for me to watch it. But what I remember is the reaction when I came out was they knew exactly who I was. They knew exactly what that issue was. And, you know, I got the chants and the...
Yes, they knew exactly who to chant rude words at. Yes, yeah.
Exactly.
I don't think I was there. I don't think I was one of them.
So it was quite a groundbreaking and quite a risky thing to do, I think. But it definitely, on that occasion, it seemed to pay off.
Yeah, you say it was quite niche. Doing it on the internet was quite niche, but the internet is where the FWA fan base was.
Yeah,
like they were those like early-ish adopters of the internet. They were the people on the forums. They were the people with observer subscriptions. You know, those kind of, and you know, you go to where your audience is.
Do we apologise now for Ben Corrigan probably saying all the nasty words to you at the beginning of your debut, wearing his hat and beating the horn?
I'm not ever apologising for anything Ben did. He can do that himself. I'm
sure Ben was there, and I'm sure he was stirring it up.
Yeah. I'm sure he was too. So you debuted there as the co-manager of the Pitbulls.
Yeah.
Was there ever a plan to do anything with them, or was that simply a bait and switch to switch you to the family at Crunch the next month or the month after that?
The initial plan was that I was going to debut on my own as the manager of the Pitbulls, and that was going to be the long-term plan, was for me to manage the Pitbulls. John Farrer was added to the mix in the aftermath of what happened the week before, I believe, with the as I've called it, the no-ring circus at his show in Blackburn. So yeah, he got added last minute.
Yeah,
that was a one-off, and then after the angle at New Frontiers, they switched direction and decided to put me with the family.
Managing the family, highlights and dare I ask lowlights?
I loved the whole thing, if I'm being honest with you. A great bunch of guys to work with. We just had such a laugh. The theme music, I used to love coming out to that theme music that Ralph created. It was just perfect. It was just, I just, you know, got such an adrenaline rush every time I came out to that. Although when I describe it 20 years later to people, yes, I used to manage a cult and they came out with flaming crucifixes. I get strange looks. But in the bubble of wrestling, it was brilliant.
Yeah, made perfect sense.
It made perfect sense. Highlights are definitely, I don't know whether you've quite covered it yet on the podcast. I think you're coming to it, I think. Possibly, or you might have just done it. I'm not sure, but
the Hampton Court match.
That
will be on our next review show. Let's not give anything away because I believe the other two gentlemen have not actually seen that yet.
No,
that's a highlight.
Yeah,
and the first night at Crunch again, not seen it. I don't know. There's bits of Crunch online, but not a lot.
Yeah, there isn't much of it at all. It's the great lost show. I know where some of the tapes are. I've been in contact with the person who has them. That was about 5 years ago, and they've moved house at least twice since then, and I've not been able to get them out of them. The tapes are in the States of what exists. But the family and Alex and Nikita and Ulf angle was shown on one of the early TWC TV shows, one of the compilation shows before I took over and started doing the narrative stuff.
So that's where she slaps me and my glasses fly off and land in the front row and Dan Reed catches them. It's him again. He's everywhere. So yeah, that's the debut. That was the debut show where we won the titles. So that was great. Really enjoyed that. Yes. Low lights. I mean, obviously seeing Paul nearly burn to death in front of me wasn't particularly pleasant at all. I don't think at the time I fully appreciated what was going on, partly due to being still pretty green in the business and, you know, genuinely not sure whether the stunt has gone wrong or not, and partly because Mikey Whipwreck jumped on him and was putting him out, and I was thinking, what the hell's going on? And I think partly as well because I was very focused on what was coming next, because the whole match was built around, if we lose, Ulf Herman gives me a chair shot, which I was legitimately a bit concerned about. So
yeah, because if Alex is half a second late,
yeah. So yeah, I was very focused on that. But yeah, that was definitely a low light because it was a horrendous incident, and thank God Paul was okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clearly you can see like how much you enjoy and how much you're kind of getting into when we've seen you, and it's kind of like what the performance is as a manager is great. I think it's one of the things we've always kind of highlighted in kind of episodes when you've popped up and cut your promos and stuff like that. Even though we have said at points you look like a funeral director, which is kind of maybe the point as well.
Yeah, but I made the point that doesn't that just show your next door neighbour could be in a cult? You don't have to have your head shaved or have loads of long hair, which were the two options if you join the family. A typical journalist, your man next door could be part of a cult.
And I mean, to be fair, one of the episode names of this is you saying I joined a cult. So yeah,
I did join the cult.
Not be surprised.
Yeah.
The question I've got here is it's just 3 words. The Blowup Doll. Question mark.
As soon as you said something about the guy next door, I thought the Blowup Doll's coming next. My wife's very disturbed by this. She read the Shiny Pants fanzine. What was it? Mrs. Lambert's journal as well. That was written about the family. Her hiding the drawing pins from Paul in the kitchen and that kind of thing. And she just looked at this with just total bemusement. It's like, what is going on? I think secretly she actually quite like that bit. Not necessarily the Blowup Doll, but I think what greater tribute as a heel and to have a fan create an inflatable sex doll of your wife and then the top baby face be power bombing it in the middle of the ring in York Hall or pile driving it. You can't get much better than that, really.
Oh God!
I was going to ask about the family, about Drew McDonald. Is he the most scariest man you've met or worked with in the business? I was thinking like just his voice or even Kieran's impression of it sends shivers down my spine as much as Nick Ross back in the day telling me not to have nightmares on Crime Watch after I'd just watched an hour of Hardened Criminals.
It's a great question. Actually, do you know something? Backstage, Drew's was great. Drew's very different, very quite softly spoken and quite a friendly guy, I would have said. The only issue we ever had with Drew, and again, I'm sure you'll talk about this on the podcast, was British Uprising 3, but that again, perhaps not for this one. But no, I wouldn't have said he was. Not really. I think in the ring, without a doubt, he'd be right up there. But then again, there's also Ulf going around, smashing garden gnomes and keyboards left, right, and centre, and me having to dodge out the way to avoid previous bodily harm, for a full year. So perhaps that was a little bit more intimidating.
I think Drew and Ulf were quite similar in that there was a switch that flipped when they went through the curtain. That was performance mode on, because I've had a lovely quiet lunch with Ulf Herman while waiting for a show to start in Newport, for example. I had nice quiet conversations with Drew McDonald before it was cameras rolling and he went and punched Dean Ayers in the stomach in a Broxbourne dressing room. As part of the story, I should point out, he didn't just walk up to Dean and whack him.
Yeah, that's true. And my experience the same with Ulf as well. Great guy, got on really well with him.
Glasses man to glasses man in terms of this, kind of as we are both bespectacled. How horrible is it having your glasses gaffer taped to your head?
I think they broke. I think they broke. I think if you watch it back on the tape after I take it off, I'm scrambling around to try and find them. Mm-hmm. And I seem to remember that they either broke completely or they were badly damaged. So yeah,
not reimbursed because it's the FWA, obviously.
Greg is a familiar regular at his local Specsavers or whatever it is at the time, just going, it's happened again.
Excuse me, Alex, can I have extra expenses from my specs? No, that didn't. That was never going to happen. Yeah, it wasn't pleasant at all. It really wasn't pleasant. My main memory of I'm very critical of myself, and I don't think you picked it up, thankfully, on when you reviewed it, but my chronic overacting at the top of the stage when we've lost the match. I'm wandering back up to try and get away because I know Ulf's about to chair shot me in the storyline, and Alex comes through the curtain to meet me, and I sort of turn around, look at the camera, and go, oh no, like a Scooby-Doo villain. And I'm just like, I don't know. But I think that was some people once said that I was, the hamminess, I think, was part of the appeal. So maybe that was a good thing.
Rosehead needs to see what you're doing.
I think that's what you need in those situations as well, because again, your villain is it's pantomime, it's you ham it up in terms of that, and it gets more kind of over easily in terms of that. My final question for the moment is, obviously we've seen a lot of the kind of family versus show swearers kind of matches, and obviously a lot of them were walk-in brawls and stuff like that. Did you ever actually have to kind of take a bump in one of those, or did you manage to kind of get away from having to do anything like that?
I think one of the best things about my character was how well it was protected in that respect. And I think that was partly because I didn't know how to take a bump because I wasn't trained. But also, I think to maintain the heat, I think this is a really good idea. And it's a similar reason why you don't see Paul Heyman. When Paul Heyman gets battered, it means something. And it happens once in a blue moon. And that was the same for me. That was the whole build to that match where if we lost, I took a chair shot. The whole appeal of that was that no one had ever got their hands on me. And they still didn't as a result of that. And then into 2004, they still didn't, and then into 2005. And I think it was only 2006 eventually, I think, when I actually took any kind of physical move at all. That was 3 years in. And I think that was right, personally, because that's the payoff. You want to see the heel manager get his comeuppance and make him wait for it.
So we've talked a lot about how impressed we've been with your promos. At what point did they go from practicing for hours in front of the mirror to just being second nature?
Again, that's a great question. I remember the first show, New Frontiers, I turned up with my promo on a written script. I'd written it down, and it was like really lengthy. And I remember Kenny McBride was backstage working as a producer on the show, and he just took one look at it and very kindly just went, "We won't be needing that," So it went from that to certainly throughout the whole of the FWA run. I was still, as I said, pretty inexperienced, and I would always rehearse everything in my head and, like you say, in front of the mirror, probably to the nth degree, but it's just the same as anything with experience, certainly now, or, even probably 10, maybe even 15 years ago, I think I got to the point where I can kind of just go out now and with bullet points in my head and just do it.
In Holy Grail, you called 2004 the FWA's greatest year. You still think that?
Yeah, I do.
Because to me, it's not where the wheels come off, but the nuts start loosening. To me, 2003 feels more like the more creatively satisfying year.
Yeah, but I think the fact that I think the TV show probably helps with that perception, I would say, because 2004 is the year of the TV show, so you can see creatively. Most of the storylines are being followed through to a conclusion. And you've got a lot of really big moments in that year. You've got the Hampton Court family blow-off. You've got the Alex Shane, Jack Xavier match. Then you've got Alex Shane against Steve Corino. You've got a lot of things that could have been really good, but, there's the Zebra Kid, Ricky Knight situation that didn't quite finish the way they could have done. You've got Johnny's comeback as well. That was very entertaining. So I do feel it was.
Okay. And
I think again, probably 2003 isn't helped a lot by the fact that some of the key shows. So I think Crunch 2003 is generally accepted as one of the best FWA shows, but I've got no way of corroborating that because I can only remember it from 22 years ago, and I can't watch it back.
Yeah. So, when did you take over, and what was the impetus? Did you want in more, or did Alex want out, or did both kind of sort of fortuitously occur around the same time?
So I'd started getting more involved in the running of things quite early, in terms of the fact that in 2003 there was the British Breakout Tour. So Alex was looking for local promoters to run different towns so FWA could go out around the UK. So
Yeah.
I was asked, is there anywhere in your neck of the woods? Me and Mark mentioned the Morecambe Dome, and the rest is history. So yeah, we started doing that. I didn't get involved in the storyline side of things until mid 2004, and that was very much my curiosity, I think, and my own natural self-destructive need to get more involved.
And was that just around the family storylines, or were you like pitching stuff for other people?
No, I remember distinctly going to meet with Alex and Dino Scarlo in the summer just before Vendetta and spending the day with them and just observing how they worked together in putting the show together. And that was, again, that was just down to me saying I'd be interested in doing that. So, of course, it was, well, come down to London then. All right, then. You know, let's make another 400-mile, 350-mile journey. Let's do it. So, yeah, because that was the level of dedication, I think, at the time, is that, you know, I was making that journey regularly, you know, from Morecambe down to London because I really wanted to be involved. And then I think Dino, which I still think is one of the big factors behind the fact that like you said, the wheels started to come off. Dino stepped away in the autumn of that year.
Yeah.
And I kind of just gravitated into the role of Alex's right-hand man from there. I remember I had a lot more involvement in the Gold Rush show towards the end of 2004. That was probably my first one where I was kind of pitching a lot of ideas. And then into 2005, publicly, Alex wants to step away so he can focus on his super shows, which he ran at the Sky Dome that year. And he's also working a lot around the country, a lot more as a wrestler at that point. He's in his Mercedes Moné phase, I think, as you've called it, you know, with all the belts. So he's working everywhere. So he doesn't have the time for FWA, and he can probably see it's going to fail. So he tries to distance himself a little bit from it publicly. So publicly, I think it was said that it was me, Mark Kay, Doug Williams, and Mark Sloan who were in the company. But secretly, Alex was still had the final say over everything in 2005. So it was only the start of 2006 where I don't remember this. I had to check back in my book, but apparently there was a big bill that needed paying. I think it was public liability insurance.
Right. Okay.
And myself and Mark said, right, we'll pay that off. It was about $3,500, something like that. We'll pay that off if we can take control of the FWA completely. With no debts, you know, anybody else, the debts, we will not be liable for any money that's owed to anyone. And we get full control of what's going on. So that didn't happen till 2006.
Potentially a big question. What do you think was the key to getting Morecambe to pop off the way it did?
That's a great question.
Because I think you alone, well, no, perhaps not you alone, perhaps you and Mark Kay together as the dynamic duo have done more for pro wrestling in Morecambe than anybody else for the last 20 odd years.
Well, yeah, because the TWA shows in 2002, the second one I went to, I think it drew about 70 people.
Right.
So that first FWA British Breakout Tour show, you know, that was the benchmark, really.
Yeah.
But we knew it could do more than that. And the capacity of the dome was about 450, something like that. So the first show, we did a huge amount of local promotion. You know, we didn't want to bank on the FWA's hardcore audience traveling up to Morecambe because it was mainly based in the south. So, you know,
that's the thing. Like, apart from the odd excursion to places like Halifax and Telford, like, FWA doesn't exist north of Luton, does it?
No. So we got Alex to come up early. He did a radio interview on the local radio station, which got a lot of attention. We were postering all over the place. We were like drawing on local contacts because I worked for the local. What was really helpful was the fact that I worked for the local newspaper and I knew a lot of people in the town.
Right.
So that really helped. When you're doing postering, that really helps because a lot of places I'm going in, it's all right, mate, rather than, oh, hello, person I don't know, would you mind me putting a poster in your window? So stuff like that, and contacts through the newspaper, contacts in other local media, that was really helpful in getting tickets sold on those early shows. And then I just think that it just snowballed, I think, because people really liked what we were doing. They liked the FWA product. They just kept coming back and coming back and coming back, and it just established that audience for the future.
So obviously, Greg, you were part of the FWA versus IPW final show.
Oh, yes, I want to talk about that. Go ahead.
So would you say you took inspiration from that for the XWA GPW story? And also, I don't know if you were booking around this time in PCW with the buyout versus PCW storyline, where you had like separate sections of opposing fans, and I always found it fascinating, like how it works, and I think it pulled off each time.
I'd like to expand on that, if I may. So when we had Andy Quilden on, he talked about Final Frontiers and all the builds to that from the IPW side. What are your memories from the FWA side?
Wow, that's two questions in one. So
it kind of is, but it's all related.
It is all related. So I have to take it back, actually. The idea of promotion, a UK promotion taking on another UK promotion in a worked, show-long battle, that was actually started by Ricky Knight in WAW, because he formed something called the British Interfederation Cup in 2005, I think it was. And there was a show in Bournemouth, which I managed on, where Team FWA took on Team WAW. And there was, I think it was Doug, Styx, Spud, and James Ty, I think. Alex was on the show as well, taking on Team WAW. That was probably Ricky Knight, Zebra Kid, Sweet Sarai would have been there. I seem to remember a very, very young Paige was there. Sort of,
it's going to be a whole bunch of people whose work last name is Knight, isn't it?
They're all there. But anyway, enough name dropping.
Yes.
The idea was, yes, that was where I saw you can have this promotion versus promotion thing, and it will work really well, because it'll be like a football crowd. You'll have that home and away. It's on WAW turf, so WAW are the good guys. Their crowd are going to be massively against them. FWA are the heels. So then we did that in Morecambe with All Star. We brought Robbie Brookside in. We turned him heel. He headed up the All Star faction. He called FWA 4 Wannabe Americans. We had the whole All Star is all that's best of the old school of British wrestling, but they're the heels coming into the FWA stronghold of the Morecambe Dome. And we did a show in May 2006, which went down an absolute storm of FWA versus All Star. IPW versus FWA, I didn't have a massive amount of involvement in that. I mean, that was very much, it was Alex and Andy Quilden, I think. Mm-hmm. Certainly initially. And then the Final Frontier show, I would imagine, would have been mainly Andy, because Alex wasn't there. But again, yeah, absolutely saw that was unique. That wasn't the, like you said, that was the audience split virtually down the middle. You've got your FWA section and your IPW section.
And not told to. They took it upon themselves.
Very organic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So absolutely, I carried that on. Faction warfare, I just saw it was just wrestling fans love it, and they'll buy tickets to come and see it over and over again. So we just kept doing it. We did XWA v WAW at the Dome. And obviously XWA v GPW, I think, was the big one, which was, the Final Frontiers up north, basically, taken to the nth degree, because the two sides could not stand each other. They legitimately, those fans hated each other, because we did such a good job of making it look like we hated each other, XWA and GPW. So that was good. And yeah, you're right, Andy. Again, faction warfare of buyout v PCW. Yes, I did have the book. I was the booking for PCW at the time. And again, similar kind of thing. And I really felt that when PCW wasn't what it was in terms of bringing in the big names, we couldn't bring the big names in anymore. I brought a little bit of what had made Morecambe successful to Preston, and it definitely worked. What was your question, Kieran?
It's kind of like what you remembered from the FWA side of going into Final Frontiers, because we've had the IPW point of view from Andy.
Yeah, I was having a bad year in 2006. Me and Mark had tried to run it, and it just didn't work for a number of reasons. We couldn't devote the time to it. We were both working full time. We ran shows. Some of them we did all right. Some of them were a spectacular failure. A lot of things went wrong. A lot of people were like, well, this isn't FWA. We think FWA should be run like the old days, blah, blah, blah. Lots of people, shoving their oar in. And it was just, we wanted to get away from it. So Alex had been kind of on sabbatical, I think, for most of 2006. We started sort of talking again. And he said the idea about why don't we do promotion v promotion, loser must fold. Let's do a storyline to finish the FWA if you want to walk away from it.
Might as well make some money out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, like I said, a lot of the input initially was his, because it was meant to build, I think, to him against Martin Stone in the final match. And there's a lot of stuff happening on IPW shows, and it was great because I think there was, a lot of people came back from the old days of FWA. There was title changes happening in the most bizarre places. I remember Dan Reed ran a show, I want to say in Colchester, and RJ Singh just came out of nowhere and attacked Pac and beat him for the FWA flyweight title on a Colchester show, which I don't know whether that would have made any sense at all to the fans, the local fans, but to the hardcore fans who were looking at it online, it's like, oh my goodness, yeah, that's spontaneous. The title change has happened, and they're getting more and more interested in the whole rivalry, I think.
When was the transition over to XWA? And linked to that, was shedding the FWA name and the expectation that came with it a bit of a weight off your shoulders?
Yeah, it definitely was. It definitely was. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still do. I look back very fondly on most of the time with the FWA, but yeah, it was very important for myself and Mark to start afresh and do our own thing where those expectations aren't there. And I think, we'd got to the point where we realized that it's very difficult, unless, like I said before, you're doing it full time, to run shows in parts of the country where you don't live and where you haven't got someone that you really, really trust to do the donkey work of promotion for you, particularly back then. This is pre-social media. So it's, you're doing a bit of promotion online, but a lot of your promotion is done locally. So yeah, we did. And I think the transition was, the first show was, because Final Frontiers was March 2007.
Think so, yeah.
So the first show we did was 2 weeks later at the Dome.
Wow, okay.
And we sold out.
Right.
One of only two legit sellouts we ever had at the Morecambe Dome. The first one was Alex versus Raven.
Okay.
War on the Shore, 2005, which was on the Wrestling Channel. And the first XWA show, which was Robbie Brooks. We built up the FWA All-Star feud for a year. Robbie Brooks v Johnny Storm. Johnny Storm had never won that title, which was in effect linear the FWA title. The crowd was massively behind him, and Johnny beat Robbie for the belt, and to joyous scenes.
Did you have any involvement with FWA 2.0?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Settle in, lads.
Right, guys, therapy time.
I know nothing about it. I was out of wrestling by this point. Like, I was even, I think, like, even Len had wrapped up by this point, and I was having, a proper career doing a proper work. So I've got no knowledge of this whatsoever. So feel free to educate the audience and educate us on FWA 2.0.
So Alex rings me probably sometime in the spring of 2009 or something like that. So this is 2 years later. And he says, I've been chatting to Tony Sefton, who was superstar Tony Sefton on a few FWA shows a few years previously. And we want to bring the FWA back. And I'm like, well, hang on a minute. We killed it 2 years ago in a big angle, And I am quite old school with this. If you're going to do a stipulation, have it mean something.
Yeah.
Don't just bring it back 2 years later. But, they wanted to do it. And it was nice that they rang actually and just said, because I didn't really have any legal right to the brand or the name or anything, but I think it was nice that they sort of kind of asked, what do you think about this? Is it, not is it okay, but what do you think about it? And they asked me to come and do colour commentary. So yes, I was the colour commentator on most of the FWA 2.0 shows.
Okay. And was that your only involvement?
Yes.
Okay.
Um,
Did you make sure that was your only involvement?
Yeah, I had no involvement creatively.
Right.
Probably helped out a little bit now and again because during that period of time, myself and Alex had formed a heel double act on the XWA shows, which crossed over onto the FWA shows. So,
right.
Yeah, I'm sure that I would have had some logistical involved. Yeah, I would have been roped. Yeah, I was definitely roped into. Yeah, no, I was. Oh, yeah, there was that whole. There was that whole.
See, okay, officially that was your only job, but
yeah, I was roped in to do a few things behind the scenes, but creatively, I didn't have any involvement that I recall.
You say at the end of Holy Grail that when the Morecambe Dome was knocked down in 2011, your love of wrestling kind of went with it. Did it fully come back, and when?
Yeah, it came back pretty quick. To be honest with you, it was when it probably fully came back when Stephen Fludder got in touch with me and asked me to come and work for PCW. Because I mean, you can't not fall back in love with wrestling when you sat every month in a nightclub commentating on some of your heroes and some of the biggest names in the world, like every month, and some of the best British stars. And that's what PCW was, certainly for the first 5 years when I was there. It was just, again, back to that surreal nature of walking into a dressing room and, oh, hello, Terry Funk. Hello, AJ Styles. Right, $1 Million Man. Hello, Kevin Owens. How you doing? It's like, just, it was a privilege. It was an absolute honor to do that. And yeah, I think that's probably what made a big difference in getting my mojo back at that point.
What made the Dome such a special place? Because apart from the fucking horrible drive to get there, I liked working there. Like it looks so good on camera. It's perfectly set up for pro wrestling. I mean, I'm probably giving the reasons right now, but what to you made the Morecambe Dome such a special place for wrestling?
It just, I don't know. I mean, it just worked. I don't think you can put a label on it particularly. I just think that
it's kind of the same for Broxbourne. You open the door and the magic is just there, right?
Broxbourne's the other venue that I absolutely loved. I absolutely love Broxbourne because Broxbourne, I mean, so the Dome, I just remember that first show we did in that British Breakout Tour show. And I remember the reaction of some of I remember Jack Xavier's reaction when he walked in. He was just looking around like in awe at this. And that, to me, it's like, hang on a minute, it's the Dome, I've watched the Drifters here, and it's like, I've seen people roller skating around this. It's just the Dome,
The thing the Dome has over Morecambe, though, is the way it looks on the inside. That incredible ceiling. Like if you get a low camera angle of somebody up on the turnbuckles, and there's that behind them, it looks really cool.
It was the tiered seating. A lot of people, I ask, because am I allowed to plug my own podcast?
You absolutely are.
So I do the Morecambe Wrestling podcast where we talk a lot about those shows, and I've asked this question. I've interviewed people like Johnny Storm and Doug Williams and Styx and people like that this year, and they all say that the tiered seating, I think, comes up a lot. I don't know whether you see this very much at other wrestling venues, but that tiered seating on the one side, and then opposite the stage with the big velvet curtains, and it just it looked like a really atmospheric setting, and the ceiling looks amazing on the TV. And I don't know, it just seemed to contain the noise as well. So the reactions always felt really loud. And I think when the Japanese came, they put it in their magazines thinking it was the Tokyo Dome. So that was always good too.
Just one thing I wanted to say, because that kind of feeling is kind of how I felt for the first time when I went into, and this is going to sound so cheesy and silly, when I went to Lava Ignite for the first time for a PCW show, and you go in and you see that big venue and you're looking around and it just like, because again, I hadn't been to many other wrestling venues in Scotland. So when I went to Preston for the first time and saw that kind of atmosphere, I don't know what it was, but it was like, it blew me away. Yeah.
It's that spaceship over the ring, weren't it?
Yeah.
Basically, it's either that or that big black curtain you go past with all the wrestlers.
You can hear them. You can hear them talking about the spots, and you're just wandering by, going, "Ooh, what's going on here?" And then you're into this area. Yeah.
The thing is, though, I suppose though you can have the best arena in the world, and if your product's crap, then it's not going to make any difference. So I think it's a combination of having that setting, but then having the right type of show within that setting. And I think PCW was the right type of show for that setting. And, Morecambe, early FWA and then later XWA was the right type of show for the Morecambe Dome, I think.
Obviously, there are other companies happening about in Brit Rest, kind of roughly FWA time and then on the time. One that takes place in another dome, a dome in Doncaster. Were you ever keeping an eye on that, or did they ever contact you to kind of work for them, to try and steal you, or what was the kind of, did you have any experience with 1PW, basically, is the question I'm trying to
Could have said that, Eddie, yeah.
He's trying to dress it up with all these flowers.
I went to one solitary 1PW show in its entire existence.
And was
Greg
everything
the Bullet
on
Dodger Lambert?
I was going to say, was everything on the card booked as promised?
I was in the crowd. Me and Mark just said, let's go and watch it, see what it's all about. And my main memory is G-Man wrestled. that scarred me. So that's the only thing. Sorry, G-Man.
What I will say is, as a wrestler, he is an excellent ring announcer and video producer.
Hey, but at least I remember it. So,
yeah, absolutely.
It must have been good. I don't remember much about that show, apart from it went on a long, long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I didn't. I met Stephen Gauntley probably a couple of times. I think he probably came to a FWA Cleethorpes show, and yeah, it was fine to talk to, but had very few details with dealings with them. I think Stephen Fludder went to a lot of 1PW shows.
Yeah.
And that they may
and that's where he thought, hey, imports are the way to go.
Well, I think that's probably the case. Yeah. I would say that he probably was influenced by some of the aspects of that, of what to do and what not to do.
I think you can definitely see that from when you see stuff from PCW, 1PW going into PCW, the kind of similarities with how those kind of first shows were at the beginning. Just at least PCW didn't try and kill the relationship with Japan by trying to screw over the Great Muta at that point. But, because obviously they were going on at the same, I think they were on and off the same team, 2005 to 2000 kind of an eight, I think, at that time. So I didn't know if they were trying to kind of ask for any creative or kind of any ideas, but obviously if they were just doing their own thing and you only went to one show, then yeah. It's fair enough.
No, I think, the rise of 1PW and IPW and other promotions started to come along definitely contributed to the FWA having a bit of a drop off, because, we noticed in 2005 the attendances were starting to drop in Broxbourne in particular. And I think that was partly due to the fact that we didn't have any money anymore, so we weren't putting imports on the show. So people were thinking, right, well, we'll go and watch them elsewhere. There were other alternatives.
This is the thing. Other promotions sprung up that were taking elements of what the FWA had done and were doing them either better or to an extreme. So, for example, if you wanted great show-to-show booking with the occasional US indie name, you went to 1PW. If you just wanted those imports and anywhere between 4 and 7 hours of mayhem, you went to 1PW.
So we've talked about, like, you've done so many roles within wrestling, like being manager, booker, promoter, commentator. Oh, you were pretty good at all of them. Let's say. But which did you most like doing?
When I'm out there, I would say performing. I would certainly say managing, because there's just nothing like having that control of the crowd and. Yes. And knowing that you are contributing to, you're directly contributing to, entertaining them and giving them a good night at the wrestling. When things go right it's great as well being backstage as a booker and you're seeing things unfold the way that you've planned them. And I used to get a really, really, really good thrill out of seeing that, the kind of the vision come to light, I suppose. Yeah, manager, I mean, I've not done it for a long time now. I think it's about 8 years, but I'm not dead yet, so we'll see.
Were you ever interested in any other kind of performing? Like, did you act in school plays as a kid, or was it wrestling that brought it out of you?
No, I didn't. I was kind of, like I said, writing and possibly some kind of broadcasting as a kid. And to extend off that, was it just factual writing, or did you have any aspirations to writing fiction before you wrote fiction as a wrestling booker? Yeah, it was all fiction as a kid. It was all creative writing. It was writing stories, fantasy adventure or anything along those lines. I used to write all the time. I was massively into sport, all kinds of sports as a kid. Watching, certainly not playing, but I wanted to be a sports commentator. So I'd be like up in the bedroom pretending to be whoever, John Motson, Murray Walker, all the great commentators of the 80s that I grew up watching. There was so many great sports commentators at that time to choose from as your role model. And the only thing I really did on the microphone was I worked on a fairground when I was about 21 in Morecambe. And that one day the boss said to me, "Right, Greg, get on that mic and, roll up, get people come and, play that, knock down the cans and win a cuddly tiger."
So you are like Morecambe's version of Rave On. The louder you scream, the faster the ride. Shout.
In effect, yeah, it was very, very Phoenix Nights. So yeah, I think that was what brought me out of myself and taught me how to work the mic in front of the crowd and sell, get people to come and, buy what you're selling, which is, similar to wrestling. But other than that, and again, there was a good. I used to host a few events at my old job, but I didn't do a lot of I didn't do any acting or any musical theatre or stage stuff at all. It was just like I got kind of thrown into the deep end and just, I don't know. I think you don't realize when you watch as much wrestling as I'd watched over the years, and particularly the likes of, when I was watching it in the 80s and 90s, the manager was a big thing on wrestling shows. Yeah. My first year in watching WWF, I think there must have been about 5 or 6 managers on the roster. They had Bobby Heenan, Jimmy Hart, Slick, Mr. Fuji, and then you turn over, WCW got Cornette, you got Paulie Dangerously.
Yeah,
you watch all those guys for long enough, you're gonna pick things up, and I just think
just absorb by osmosis. Yeah.
I think so.
I was going to ask, Greg, what do you think, if you do have them, your biggest regret is with working in the wrestling business?
Hard-hitting journalist Andy Ogden here.
I know.
Journal to journal, here we go.
Well, do you know something? I don't have any.
Is it coming on this show? No. Oh, right, sorry.
I don't have any anymore. And the main reason I don't have any anymore is because if everything had gone perfectly, I would never have written 3 books, because that would have been really boring. So, yeah, all the things that went wrong and all the things that I can say I regret, well, they made for a great story. So,
an excellent answer.
Also, you mentioned on the Morecambe Wrestling podcast about Crystal T's nightclub in Morecambe. Always sounds like an interesting place. Discuss.
I had my engagement party there.
What else has happened there?
Then 12 years later, we took D'Lo Brown there. It's been exaggerated by Stevie Knight. It's not. It was a great place, and just because they all went in one night and nearly got in a fight, it's been tarred. It's been dragged through the mud. The good name of Crystal T's. I always loved it in there, but yeah, it was a nightclub in Morecambe. What more do you want me to say? It's amateur, really.
The last time I went to Morecambe, there was a right rough hole called the Boardwalk, which had a very racist comedian on it at 2:30 on a Saturday afternoon. That was an experience, let's say. The Pot World upstairs, down the street. I do remember that. So From your time in the wrestling business, what do you think would improve the scene currently that hasn't already been done or done in a while?
Billions and billions of pounds.
Yeah.
More than 60 grand on Dragon's Den, I think, sadly. I would say the biggest problem with British wrestling is, I mean, we've tried, I mean, in the years that I've been involved, I've seen an awful lot of attempts to push it to a level where it could fill arenas, where it could, you know, sustainably give a lot of people a living over a long period of time. And, you know, it's certainly around about, I would say 2017, 2018, we had quite a lot of instances where those things did happen for a bit, but then they didn't last very long. And I think the reason is a number of reasons, is that it genuinely needs somebody to come along. And I don't know where it's going to come from. It's going to have to come from somebody who is like a Tony Khan of the UK, who is like a lifelong British wrestling fan, who is absolutely obsessed with it and willing to lose shitloads of money and put shitloads of money into it. And I don't ever swear, so you know you are privileged.
This is how we know he's serious.
This also sounds like they're basically just praying for Ben Corrigan to win the lottery, and
Ben Corrigan's got to win the lottery, and even then, what's got to happen is you've got to have enough marketing and promotional knowledge to be able to create stars. You know, people like, you know, WWE have got Roman Reigns, John Cena, The Rock, Cody Rhodes, Rhea Ripley, CM Punk, etc., etc., etc. People who will pay money to go and see and fill arenas, you know, around the world. We, for the best will in the world, we don't have that, but we have people who have the potential to be stars with the right money and promotion and marketing behind them, because that's been proven time and time again when they go to WWE.
That's the thing. They just have to go somewhere else to do it.
They become stars.
Yeah.
So for that to happen in this country, it's going to need, honestly, it's going to need somebody with far more money. We're going far more in sense. They're going to have sense as well. They're going to have loads of money and sense.
Yeah, unless Barry Earn and Turkey Owl Shakes coming in. I don't.
And I think you were talking about it as well there, because again, at that period of time, we did have, like, you had Progress, you had Rev Pro, and we were kind of at the very hotbed of the wrestling scene. And then the other hand, you had, and I'm not using this as a ploy to bring this in, I am trying to be genuinely serious. You had 5-Star, who basically 5-Star Wrestling, who basically went in with, the guy had the video game background, he had the video game they was selling, and he tried to sell out these venues. He tried to sell out, you know, he brought in Rey Mysterio. There's obviously the whole, he offered CM Punk £1 million the time to come in, which I think was an interesting marketing ploy. And I think you were part of that as well, because were you commentary on those shows from what I can remember? Or
Don't try and stitch him up, Eddie.
I'm not trying to stitch him up.
Not have any problem talking about it at all. I was a commentator on all the 5-Star Wrestling shows from 2017 onwards till finish, and I was assistant booker on not the last show, because I quit by then because I was fed up. I was assistant booker on the first 4 shows of the live TV series.
Yeah. And that experience, did you kind of see did you see kind of midway through, oh, this is not going to be what I expect it to be? Or was it just kind of, did you figure to start, yeah, this is going to be fine and everything's going to kind of work out well to begin with?
No, I knew it would fail spectacularly at some point, but I think I'd gone into it with my eyes wide open, really, on this occasion. It's a complicated one, this, because the Dundee show, because they did the live Dundee special, which went out on Spike, I think.
Yes. Yeah. I think it was 5-Star or something. It was a 5-Star.
5 Spike, was it? It was like a really, like when you scroll down your Freeview, it's about 8th or 9th channel down. So it's like, you know, Saturday night, prime time. Yeah. It was, I don't know how they did that. How they did that, I have no idea. But I was commentating on it. And honestly, I had a fantastic time, because I was asked down a day early for some reason, and put up in a beautiful hotel for 2 days, and they paid for like these absolute top bigwigs of UK sport production to come and do all the production. So you had like the guy who was the head of Sky Sports, and you know, and they had a guy who was on camera who, believe it or not, was even better than Kieran.
That's not hard.
He'd done World Cup finals and Olympic games, and you know, they just brought this crack production team in, and I was sat there picking the brains. You know, as someone who wanted to be a sports broadcaster from a kid, it was like, you know, I'm sat around this nice hotel chatting to these people, and then Rey Mysterio wanders in, and you're working with top level talent on live television on a Saturday night, and I was sat there commentating with Joe Hendry, which was brilliant. And then literally the show finishes and my phone blows up like it's never blown up before, from people who normally have no interest in wrestling whatsoever. My dad is messaging me saying, "Oh, you've done all right there, son." My dad's never been bothered about my wrestling career. Not once. So as an experience, because of the profile it had, that was really good. So when the live TV series came along, I wanted to be part of it because I'd had that experience, and I thought, well, I've got misgivings about this. It's flawed in the extreme trying to run these arenas. And we told them, goodness knows we told them, not just me, multiple people told them over and over again, you're not going to come anywhere near to filling these venues, and you're going to lose money.
On a weekly basis.
On a weekly basis. And why are you flying Ray in every week, first flight?
Yeah.
And all, you know, and all this sort of stuff. Everybody told them. But I kind of knew it was gonna fail, but I had a bit of I'd just taken voluntary redundancy literally before that show started, so I had quite a bit of money behind me. So I thought, well, it might go for 6 months. It might give me a 6 months worth of work.
Yeah.
I thought it would probably last till the end of the scheduled dates they had, which was something like May. But I had been told, don't worry, Greg, there's loads of money. We're going to sell it overseas, international TV. It'll be fine. So I was told, look, there's more money than there really is.
Yeah.
And it was quite clear 5 weeks in that they were losing money hand over fist, and they had to shut down.
Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you'd like to talk about, particularly if it pertains to the FWA and the period we are talking about on this show?
No, I don't think so. I think all I like to say to you guys really is just, it's great to hear you doing it, you know, doing this podcast. It's brilliant that people still care and are really interested in that period of time. And I've really enjoyed, you know, both from listening to this and doing my own podcast, looking back at a lot of the old FWA stuff, and it brings back a lot of memories. And that TV show is brilliant. I think it stands up. You know, the remastered job on it that's been done recently, I think has been great. And was that you, Kieran?
Yeah, that was me. I found a load of the old mini DV tapes, and I was like, right, how do I get these looking as good as possible? And basically did a whole load of internet research and figured out how to do it.
Yeah, but the thing is that we were such when I talked about the identity of the FWA before and why it was successful, it just had a bit of a magnetism to it. I think it just drew people in, and it drew a lot of talented people in. I mean, you know, yourself, Kieran, and, you know, people like Ian Dewhurst and Barry and Ralph. And then when you look at people like Lisa Gifford, what she's doing now, you know, Jane Childs, you know, she's writing episodes of EastEnders. And, you know, there's other people who were in FWA who've been, you know, very successful in other forms of entertainment. Alex is doing really well now. He's not involved in wrestling, but he's doing fantastically well with what he's doing. And I just think, you know, it really drew in a lot of very talented people who created something really special. And I think we should all be very proud of it, really. Much as we, at the time, things went wrong, we knock it, we can look back, we can take the mick. There's a lot to take the mick out of, and that's fun to do, and it is therapeutic at times. There's no doubt about it. But I think we should also not forget we created something, you know, pretty good that has inspired a lot of people and still stands up today, I think.
I'm going to close out by asking, for those unaware, and I include myself among them, what is the state of Morecambe wrestling as we head into 2026?
It's really good. The promoters are called Odyssey Pro Wrestling, and they are running similar to what we used to do. They're running about 5-6 shows a year, every couple of months, and they're drawing pretty solidly. You know, every time it's busy. It's the same venue that we ran after the Dome closed 15 years ago. So it's what was known as the Carlton, but it's now known as Alhambra Live, and it's again a very historic old venue on Morecambe Promenade, not too far from where the Dome was. And it's run by 3 wrestlers who have all got a long connection with Morecambe wrestling. So they either trained in Morecambe or they wrestled in Morecambe for a long time. So they understand the history. They're kind of, although the promoter's name's changed or the promotion name's changed multiple times over the years in Morecambe, there's always been that lineage in that the people who've taken over have been involved in the previous promotion. So they've kind of seen the fact that, you know, it does go back to those FWA days at the Dome and XWA carrying it on, and Morecambe is always very much the Memphis of British wrestling, and that people do genuinely believe it's real. They genuinely believe it. They get right behind the good guys. They hate the bad guys. They're totally into the stories, all the characters, and those reactions are still, you know, the same level they used to be at the Dome. So yeah, it's very healthy, and very kindly they've invited me back this year. So after a long absence, I came back this year, and I've been doing a bit of ring announcing and commentary for them, which I've really enjoyed.
Tremendous stuff. Well, something we have really enjoyed is having you on today. Thank you so much. If there's anything you would like to plug, now is your chance to do it.
Yeah, just to say that if Christmas is coming, and if you're interested in the history of British wrestling, then why not buy all 3 of my books? Holy Grail, the true story of British wrestling's revival, Ropes and Glory, the emotional rise of British wrestling, and the most recent one, whose name I can never remember because I didn't bother to promote it very well when I should have done. Hence the fact that people will still message me and go, "We love both your books, Greg," and I keep that 3 out now. What's it called? One Fall to a Finish, Inside the British Wrestling Boom Years and Beyond. That's it.
Okay.
Buy them all. And check out the Morecambe Wrestling podcast with myself and Odyssey Pro Wrestling ring announcer Silent Mark, who by his own admission knows nothing about wrestling. It's like reviewing FWA shows with a 5-year-old, but it's very entertaining.
Tremendous. Thank you very much. Eddie, do your thing.
Oh, okay. Well, funny. This is real funny because when I did that joke tweet years ago that I had bought the name of 5-Star Wrestling, I received one of the messages was, or one of the mentions was from Greg Lambert going, "And who do I send my invoice to?" So I'm now kind of shitting the tail here.
I think it's
He's come to collect
907, something like £970 or something like that.
Listen, we'll work it off here. We'll work it off here. It's fine. Currently loving KLM. Thank you, KLM. You are the legend for giving me that refund. You can find me on Blue Sky at Eddie Siburns. I have a Twitter account, but I'm very rarely using it. Called Kawada Kicks Best. And yeah, the tournament is we're still having difficulty with venues and my legal troubles. I can't talk about it. But listen, It might increase to about 1,032 people. Again, I've not decided. It just depends. But listen, Greg, it's been an absolute pleasure. I have listened to stuff when you've been at PCW. I think me and Andy have probably both seen you in PCW doing commentary and stuff like that. I'm now going to buy all 3 books. I might just try and see if I can read them all at some point now. But yeah, thank you so much, and that's where you can follow me on stuff. Thank you.
And Andy?
I would also recommend the 3 books, which are currently on RGF's bookshelf in his house. So, next time I'm
so you got someone else to buy them.
Next time I'm round, I'll give him another read. Yeah, you can follow me at OggyPart3 on X. Also follow my podcast, Graps and Claps Podcast at GCP Podcast 1, where we'll have live show reviews and also the last 2 episodes of Working a Reslo with me and Kieran, as we're still delving into the world of Orig Williams, aren't we, mate?
Not much left to go, though.
thankfully, and and also the season finale of Shite, episode 6 with Matty Edwards from Grapple and also Michael Hamflet from What Culture, as we go into WWF Armageddon 2002. It's the one with 3 stages of hell between Triple H and Shawn Michaels, which is supposedly 40 minutes of my life I will never get back.
I don't know why you do it to yourself, but it's very entertaining that you do. As for this show, you can find everything to do with us at linktr.ee/FWApod. We are on Twitter, Blue Sky and YouTube at FWApod and Instagram at FWA.pod. I am at Kieran Edits on Blue Sky. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back next month as Hampton Court finally get their shot at the family for the FWA Tag Team title. And there's 2 things you can do about it.
See the light. We are the family. We save the souls and imprison the free. We are the cult that steal your children. We break them down and then we build them. We spread the word and teach the gospel. For the hopeless, a satanic hostel. We'll give you hope and take you higher. Kneel before your true Messiah. See the light.